Let's start that over. We are now streaming live on Facebook and recording the meeting, so you will have access to it afterward. Certainly, if you do not want to be recorded, you can just definitely turn off your microphone and turn off your camera and just listen in or ask questions at the end. That's completely fine. We'll give it probably one more minute before we officially start. But for those of you who might not know me, I'm Megan Gilbert, the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce of Eastern Connecticut. I'm also still currently planning all of our events, and thrilled to have with us the Miranda Creative team. Barb Paquin will be the presenter today. We also have Diane Brown helping me with the waiting room and managing any of the questions. So probably get started in another minute. We'll give people a chance to sign on, but want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you for joining us today, and we're looking forward to some really helpful information.
Great. I think we got a pretty good crew.
Yeah, so if you are ready, why don't you go ahead and take it away, introduce yourself to the group, and I'll keep an eye on the waiting room and any of the questions throughout.
Sure. Let me get my presentation all up. So hello, everybody. My name is Barbara. I'm a brand manager at Miranda Creative. We're a small ad agency located in Norwich, Connecticut. Today we're going to go over Email Marketing 101. I like to profess this that it is a true 101 course. So I will be also giving out my email towards the end. So if you have any other questions, we are going to pause several times for questions, but feel free to send me an email if you're too shy to ask. Also, I want to let you know, I know we already said this, but the presentation is being recorded and it's going to be available and shared later today in a variety of different formats. I have Megan and Diane as my wing woman to compile and share all the questions that you may have. So there's a little chat box down below, but since we have a small group, feel free to kind of just speak your mind. I'm going to try to keep this to about 45 minutes so that way we have enough time for questions. So I just wanted to give you a brief introduction of Miranda Creative as an agency. We're a full service brand agency located in Norwich, Connecticut, right on the green. It's a really good location. Although most of us are working remotely at the moment. We have a team of about 18 people, primarily compiled of graphic designers, web developers, social and digital media people, and then administrators as well. And then I also wanted to share with you a couple of the brands that we work with. My job at Miranda Creative is I mostly work with the tourism and nonprofit sector clients, but we do advertising for pretty much everybody, down to the Connecticut Art Trail, the Dino Place out in Montville, and we've helped out Bishop's Orchards and the train stations as well. So if any of you have any questions or need any help with marketing needs, please feel free to reach out to us as well for that. So little quick facts, because most of you are probably like, well, I've heard of email marketing, or I have a stable email marketing base so far, but is it really worth it to me? And I would like to say that the resounding answer is yes. So some quick facts. So 3.9 billion people use email daily. So, and we're not talking about just for business emails as well. They also use it on a personal basis. 49% of emails are open on mobile devices. 73% of millennials prefer email communications, not only for business, but for personal use as well. And 59% of consumers say emails influence their purchase decisions. So I know a couple of you folks who are on here. I see Ann Daigle is on here. My buddy Art is on here as well. So perfect ways. Everyone has a little bit different ways of how they can utilize email in their marketing strategy. And we'll go over everything with that. So we're going to go over email providers, structuring email, audience, metric tracking, and then we'll close for questioning. So what are your options? So picking a service. I highly recommend doing your research. Everybody has pros and cons. My top two that I would recommend personally is MailChimp and Constant Contact. Constant Contact is, in my opinion, the better one, but go either way. Those are the top two popular ones. There are other services that I've used in the past, but as far as integrating with your website or Facebook or other applications that you may be using in your marketing plan, those two are 99% are going to work with everything. But obviously, feel free to choose a service that works for you. And a lot of people are like, okay, I figured out my email service, let's do this. And they're like, oh no, do I have to pay? Do I not have to pay? What do I do, Barbara? And so the answer is it's kind of up to you. And it also depends how many customers you have on your email service. So email marketing is a really highly effective tool to capture not only metrics of what your consumers are doing, but also a really great tool to reach them on a personal level. And what happens is once your newsletter becomes popular, you gain email subscribers. And by that, your email subscribers, it kind of comes as a cost. And depending on which provider you choose, typically it starts kind of costing you something around the 1,000 subscriber mark. But it's different with all of them. So some people can get away with paying nothing a month. Some people I've seen pay $20 a month. Others, if you have a list of 40,000 subscribers, we're looking at about over $100 a month. So it really depends on how many people are looking you have on your list. And we're going to go into having a quality list in a minute, so that way we can make sure that like every dollar counts. But I just want to make sure that you guys know about the upfront costs of picking a service. Also, provider features. There's pros and cons to all of them, like I said. I like Constant Contact and MailChimp because they're really popular. There's a lot of information on them. So if you get stuck, there's always a YouTube channel you can find or a quick Google search. But they do have their limitations. So just be wary. Some of them, like to take videos and GIFs and some don't, or sometimes the formatting can be not like stylistically where you want it to be. So just do your research. Just make sure that you're fully aware of like what's really important to you when picking a provider. So moving into some email basics, we're going to talk about the structure. So we're going to talk about how to increase. Sorry. We're going to talk about how to have a really great subject line, your header, body copy, some tips and tricks, and then also talking about your footer as well. So I'm just going to move this to the side because your faces are in. There we go. So some email basics. So subject lines. So subject lines, there's two different types of subject lines when it comes to an email. There's subject lines and then there's a sub-subject line. So hopefully you can see my cursor, but right here, I know it says test, but we'll kind of disregard that for right now. Our typical subject line that you see right here is uncork your Labor Day weekend. So that's the first one. Always really nice. You can always add emojis to this as well. And then your second subject line is going to say, enjoy a special treat this weekend on the Connecticut Wine Trail. This is not something that's going to show in the email itself, as you can see, but when people have it waiting in their inbox, it's going to give that little description. So just be aware that you do have those two options when it comes to subject lines. A lot of what happens is when I have clients come to me, so sorry, I am working from home, so you might hear the dog because I think the UPS man's here. I apologize for that. So how do I make my subject line pop? So there's a couple things that go into this. So we want to make sure that it has urgency, spikes curiosity. It could have an offer in there, personalization, relevance and timeliness, and name recognition. So for example, urgency is uncork your Labor Day weekend. We could say, Labor Day is only 3 days away. You need to get your bottle of wine right now. Curiosity, special guest is joining us at the vineyard this weekend. Offers 50% off this Labor Day weekend only. Relevance and timeliness. So say there's something in the, I apologize. Say there's something in the news that's happening. This really affects the relevance and timeliness of the call. So, for example, if it's National Wine Day, for example, this would give it the ability to say Uncork Your National Wine Day, for example, and then name recognition as well. So everybody loves a celebrity, or especially if your brand is really recognizable. So if you say, oh, Britney Spears is going to be at the vineyard this weekend, for example, or say the Connecticut Wine Trail is something that's really important to people at that point in time. You know, maybe the Yukon Huskies or something are going to join you for something. Name recognition is really great. So those are some ways to make your subject line pop. Some other tips: keep it short and keep it sweet. People can read what you got to say in the email itself, so I wouldn't go overboard when it comes to writing a 3-line subject line. Try to keep it maybe 6 words tops. Don't go overboard. Also, people love puns. Unapologetically use those puns, people. Additionally, don't use all caps. I see some people, they're like, come buy our stuff now. And I'm like, stop screaming at me. I'm just reading my email. So make sure we're not using all caps. And additionally, another thing that you can try is using A/B testing. So what I mean by A/B testing is, say you have 2 different subject lines, and a lot of the services provided is that you can send the email out twice with 2 different subject lines and see which ones get the better open rate. Additionally, you can use this for social media as well. So if you have, say you're running a campaign and you have a picture that's blue and you have a picture that's red, you can run both of those pictures at the same time and see which one is getting the best traction, right? And if you notice, you're like, hey, the blue picture is doing way better than the red picture, then that can tell you to be like, okay, that's what we're going to use when it comes to all of our subject lines for our emails, moving forward with our social media campaigns, how we're going to redesign our website to make sure that everything's going as planned. Also, I wanted to talk about the headers. So one of the things you want to do is make it personal. This is the part of the email that you can use to make sure that your brand and your brand standards are sticking out. So for example, my friends at Generations, they have this great header that they use, that they change out for every email. And essentially what it is, really great, has their brand colors to it, has their logo, and additionally a really well-placed summer graphic with kiddos wearing the masks. Additionally, the Connecticut Wine Trail, they have this one. Connecticut Wine Trail isn't the most prevalent thing. It says adventure awaits. This graphic in the background gets changed seasonally. And then additionally, it also has a call to action for people to scroll down, because this is a larger header. The Railroad Museum of New England, although this is not their logo, it's okay. It has their brand standards. It has that rustic feel that particular vendor is going for. And additionally, another idea that I saw, I'm probably the only person who opens my junk mail, but that's just how I get all my good ideas for all of my email marketing, is I saw somebody use a GIF to create urgency in their header, saying time is running out, and they had a clock GIF running. And what I like to tell people, and typically I keep this for my social media lectures, but people love video. I like to say that consumers or clients that are looking online it almost has a goldfish effect, right? So they go for the shiny object, the movement. That is what they're there for. Sometimes the words don't matter, right? And so even having that little bit of movement to add to your emails is going to capture attention, and they're going to be more engaged to read more. So body copy. So a lot of people are like, well, what do I do, Barbara? I see a lot of different quote unquote email marketing or junk mail that comes to my my desktop, and I'm like, you know, they're kind of all over the place, but which body copy style fits my business? And this is something that you really need to kind of play with. But there's 4 main styles that I've noticed. There's events, keeping your e-blast focused on events, business or operations updates, product sales, or news. And so let me just kind of go through that. So for example, this is the art trail email, and we primarily promote the events and expeditions that are happening for the art trail. And so this is one way that we really keep it focused. We're like, okay, this is our monthly newsletter, but we are really going to keep it focused on the events. Whereas for the wine trail over here, you can see that our main focus was making sure that we had information or operations updates that were going out saying this is the news of what we're looking for. So this particular one for Labor Day weekend was talking about not only do we want people to pick their wine, but also be aware that of the social distancing guidelines that are put in place for wineries at this time. Another one that came through, I believe this was a Petco email that I received last night, and this is a product sales. So just be careful when it comes to product sales. This is a really great tool. I can definitely see that they targeted me because I was definitely looking this up on Amazon the other day, this flea and tick collar specifically, but just be aware that if you are going to be selling something like this, making sure that you're segmenting your audience to make sure it fits their needs. And we'll go through segmentation of audiences later. And additionally, this is an operations update that we got from RMNE, the Railroad Museum of New England on the western side of the state, talking about their decision to shut down their services for the rest of the year. And so what I really want to just drive home, or the main point of the body copy, is making sure that it's okay to send multiple emails. You don't have to shove everything into one email, because the goldfish, the consumer, if you will, they have a scrolling culture, right? So they're on their phones constantly. I mean, I'm on my phone constantly, right? So they're used to being on Facebook scrolling. If they have to read more or put the effort in more than they have to, it's not going to be as profitable for you. So making sure that you have one intention for each email. Obviously, you don't want to pepper them with too many emails, but if you have an operations update, keep that as an operations update email. If you have something that you're trying to sell as far as like a product, keep it as the product email. Just be wary. Make sure you kind of split it up into small chunk segments, right? People are less likely to read everything if you put it all jammed together. Also, some tips and tricks. Now, when I said make sure you don't jam everything together, it's okay to add the little extras to your emails as well. So one of the things that I always push with my clients is adding their social media to their email. Because at the end of the day, what is the purpose of the email? What is the purpose of social media, right? What is the purpose of putting that ad on the internet or putting that ad in the newspaper? Is we want a conversion, right? We want people to buy something from us, right? Or utilize a service. So what we're going to be doing is we want to make sure that this isn't the last point of contact for us. We want to make sure that the email is driving them to see something more, right? So if you send an email about an operations update, highly encourage them throughout that body copy to visit your website, right? Because once they visit your website, that is where you can track their IP addresses. That is where you can have a more personal relationship with them. And that's where you're going to get your conversion for your sales. Additionally, popping in your social media saying, let's get social, that's going to be a way for you to say, hey, thanks for reading this email. There's going to be a lot more news coming for you that might not be email exclusive. Visit our social media pages. Additionally, coupons. Everyone loves a good deal, right? Adding an email exclusive coupon. I know like Joanne Fabrics does this, Michaels does this, really can not only it helps the client out, but it also helps you out to say, okay, what is my real ROI on this email? And so if you have something exclusive for them, it's going to encourage them to not only read the full email, but also keep opening your email in the future for hopes to have those little nuggets of surprise deals. Additionally, there's a lot of different things depending on the service that you choose that you can include in your email. So for example, my friends at Generations Family Healthcare Health Center, we are currently including YouTube videos into their upcoming email marketing campaign. So like I said, Goldfish, they love the movement. So making sure that you add any type of movement or media to the email is really going to help, because unfortunately, people struggle with the reading. And then I also wanted to talk briefly about footers. I want to say in the fall, before this crazy pandemic happened, I attended a workshop regarding making sure that marketing and what you're doing is legal, right? So as easy it is to kind of like not really look at this from a business standpoint, just making sure that everything is put into place in this part is really important on your footers. So making sure you keep it legal. You have to make sure that you give them the option to unsubscribe from your email list, as much as that kind of sucks. Just the service that you choose will probably put it in there, but just make a note to yourself to make sure that it's there. I don't want anyone getting in any trouble. Especially making sure that your copyright is there, and then also making sure that you give them the ability to reach out to you if there's a problem. So making sure that your address and phone number is there as well. And this is also a really great place to always make sure that you have your social media links or your web page links as well. So questions so far. Diane. Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, we do. We do have a couple of questions,
Awesome.
And some of them are multi-part, so we'll try to get through them. First is a statement from Megan, our chamber host. She says that chamber members can save up to 25% on Constant Contact, even if you're an existing client. She posted a link to learn more in the chat. Second, for an A/B test, is it only the subject line which is changed? If not, what should be changed to see?
So an A/B test, you can honestly A/B test your whole email if you really want to. The subject line was just an example, but for A/B testing, if you notice that, let me come up with a good example. So we're going to get into segmentations of audiences in a little bit. So this is going to be a lot more clearer. But for example, if you had two different audiences, we'll split them up by age. So say you have a group of millennials, and then you also have a group of, we'll say Gen Xers. Two different subject lines are going to mean two different, very different things to them, right? So what I would do is making sure that you can send out an email prior in the week, see what happens with that particular subject line. If you're like, hey, I'm really not getting the metrics that I'm looking for, try sending it out in a different way. I wouldn't make sure it was like a carbon copy of the email by any means, but kind of jazzing it up, do something a little bit different and seeing if you do get that better response. And what that tells you is the next time you're sending out that email, what you should be doing, and then you're saving yourself time in the end. It seems like a lot of work up front, but it'll help you, I promise.
You have to be imaginative. Can you send the A at one time and the B at a different time to see what time is best to send?
Yeah, definitely. Also, most of these services will tell you what the best time to send, but best practices is that you want people to be looking at it when they're looking at their emails. So on a personal level, unless you're a company that really focuses on people who are in business, like a B2B kind of style. But as far as like a B2C rapport, I would recommend sending them in the mornings or at night. So in the mornings, what am I doing as soon as I wake up in the morning? I'm scrolling on my phone. At night, when I'm watching television, what am I doing? I'm scrolling on my phone. So those are the good times to send them. I would try to recommend staying away. It's like press releases. Try to stay away from Friday afternoons because it's going to get lost in the shuffle. And I would also try to stay away from Monday mornings because it's also going to get lost in the shuffle. So just be wary about that. If you have a weekend event, try your best to send it out on like a Wednesday or Thursday morning. Hopefully that helps for best practices.
Okay. And in addition to what time, how often should you send? In other words, how many times a week?
Mm-hmm. So it really depends. I have some clients that send them bi-weekly. I have some clients that send them weekly, and I also have clients that send them monthly. I even have clients that send them quarterly. So it really depends on what you have time for and what your metrics are telling you. So for example, if you are a food service, probably sending out weekly or multi-week emails about your specials is going to be really beneficial for you. But say you are a foundation. So I saw that Ann Diego was on here. So say you're a foundation, something like that, you probably don't have a bunch of news to share multiple times a week, right? So what I would do is maybe do bi-weekly or even monthly. Usually a nonprofit like that, you probably could even get away with quarterly if you really wanted to, depending on what the news and what type of content you're trying to get out to people. But yeah, if you're selling a product, more often, but because trust me, Joanne's likes to send me emails multiple times a week to tell me about their sales. So it depends what sector you're really in.
Okay. And the final question for right now is, should you delete a contact if they never open your emails?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't lose sleep over it because there's always going to be that one time when they do open it, and then it really depends. Unless it's a spam contact, then by all means, go ahead and delete them. I just had to do that with her client. Her list got hacked or whatever. It doesn't happen very often. Don't panic. But yeah, I wouldn't lose sleep over someone who doesn't open your emails because there's always going to be a time when they might open it.
Or if you're near the threshold of a different payment plan, that might be when.
Yeah, that's true. It depends what you want to invest into it.
Okay, Barbara, thank you. This is great. We will let you continue on.
Cool. Just want to make sure, how am I doing on time? Okay. So now we're going to be talking about audiences, how to get signups, increase your audience, and then we're going to talk about segmentations of audiences. So I'm just going to move this out of the way again. Some email basics. So how to gain your audience. So you're like, okay, Barbara, you've convinced me. I'm going to start doing an email marketing campaign. So I sign up. How do I get people to sign up? So there's a couple of really key places that you want to put this in. So you want to make sure that there's a link on your website like this that allows people to easily enter their email addresses. If you need help with that, Miranda Creative, we do this all the time, but usually your email provider service will really walk you through and set you up with how to put that on your website. Social media, there's ways that you can even have people sign up for your email using MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever provider you use directly on your email, on your Facebook page. Additionally, having organic Facebook posts saying, hey, gonna have an email news blast going out soon, like please, enter. your email to sign up. Also, in-store signups. I know we haven't had many much foot traffic into our stores lately, but also just making sure that it doesn't kill you to have the little list on the side that says, oh, sign up for our emails. And I know it's a little annoying to have to painstakingly, put them into your system, but it does help get that every last one. Additionally, your CRM database. So a lot of you folks do have a customer relations database, and it already has a bunch of emails in it. So it's okay to snag those and use them for that purpose. It may, don't panic if it says that it needs you to get permission for the email addresses to go through. If you put the email addresses, the system will automatically send it out to your that database, and they'll have the option to opt in for you. So don't lose sleep over it. It's gonna be all right. And so now you're like, all right, Barb, I did all those things and I'm ready to take this up to the next level. I want to make sure I'm increasing my audience. And so I have a couple ideas for you. So there's always the consideration of purchasing an email list. And purchasing an email list really allows you to define the demographic that you're looking for your maximum return on investment. And so what I mean by that is that, say I'm looking to purchase an email list for a dog kennel, right? So I'm going to make sure that I'm purchasing an email list that is of women that are between this age, that have small children, that make this much money a year, that live in this area. And you can make sure that you have all of that so you have your perfect customer model right there. And then you can purchase that list so that way you continually send to people. Typically, list purchasing, it starts, I believe the current vendor that we have for 30,000 names, I think it's about a $600 investment, but it could go up to $3,000 depending on exactly what your demographic that you're looking for is. If anyone has any questions about purchasing an email list, feel free to reach out to me after, and I'd be happy to set you up with a vendor, a trusted vendor that can help you with that. Additionally, one of the things that I've been doing recently, specifically with the Connecticut Wine Trail and a couple of my other clients, is I've been creating a contest to increase signups. So what I've been doing is, for the Wine Trail, I developed a 12-week contest program that was on social media. And so what I did was I bought a bunch of $5 trinkety things off Amazon. And what it was just some fun wine glasses or wine cork stoppers or something like that said little silly sayings on them. $5 a week, all right? I put it online and I said, hey, who needs a cute wine glass holder? Click on the link to sign up to enter into the contest. And when people entered into the contest, I received their email address. And I have to say, for one $5 wine glass, I had over 300 people sign up for the subscriber list to enter to win. So obviously you don't have to do it for that long, but this is just showing that if maybe purchasing a $600 email list is a little bit out of your scope at the moment, even if you have something in store like a fun t-shirt that represents your shop, or even, a small gift card or something, people will sign up for those things. So don't get discouraged. There's other ways. And then another tip that I want to say, when I did the contesting, of course I received their email addresses from when they signed up, but I also received not only their names, their mailing addresses, but I've also received their cell phone numbers. So this opens up a lot of different possibilities for you for not only email marketing, but now I have their home addresses. So now I can send them mail, direct mail. Additionally, I have their phone numbers if we wanted to do a text campaign in the future to make sure that we get everything out there. So really important. Like I said, $5 wine glass, 300 people. So it took a little bit more extra work on the social media front, but definitely worth it for increasing your audience. So I know I've been talking about segmentation of audiences, and you're probably going, what the heck is that, Barbara? So I put this picture below, and it's a pretty broad group of people. And what I want you to think of is, would I market a product the same way to this young woman as I would to this man? Probably not, right? So if you think about it, you have this wide audience group, right? But if you put them into smaller segments, it's going to be a lot easier to make sure that you're reaching them directly the way that you want to, right? So say your product is going to be loved by both this young woman and this man, but they're probably going to think about it in different ways, right? So for example, say we're selling pencils. This young woman probably is looking for pencils for school, whereas this guy over here is probably looking for it for business purposes. So you're going to put them in two different segments or groups. Those can be synonymous in this case. So making sure that you send a business email saying, oh, make sure you get your office supplies here, and then you send another email saying, oh, back to school shopping, ready to go. So making sure that you have those two segments. So over here, some other ways that people do it is that you can have your paid customers. I've had people have their segments even broken down further, saying, well, these customers spent over $5,000 last year, and then this segment, they only spent $1,000 last year. So making sure that we have our higher end items that we're selling are going out to the larger group, etc. So what I always recommend to people, and people kind of laugh at me, but it works, I promise. I've had grown men start giggling at me when I pulled out a piece of paper and drew a stick figure on there. And I said, okay, guys, we're going to talk about our perfect client. And they start laughing, and I'm like, nope, I need you to give me the stick figure's name. I need you to give me his age, where he lives. Is he married? Does he have kids? What car he drives? And we go through and we create the perfect customer. And we're like, great. So this is the person that we want to be finding. But realistically, that's not how it always works, right? So what I recommend is maybe creating 3 different stick figures and putting those into groups. And so that way, you can make sure that you're reaching all these different people and their needs for your product. And yeah, reaching all their different needs. I know it sounds like a lot of work up front, because probably what you're doing is you're probably sending out 1 newsletter a week, and you're just sending it to everybody and just hoping for the best. But just even small, like adjusting your subject line to saying, oh, back to school shopping, whereas buying office supplies is going to be completely different. So that's what I kind of mean about A/B testing and kind of changing it around. Your content at the heart of it can be the same, but just making sure that you're really specifying for your consumer. Additionally, pardon me, everyone wants to feel special. So your segments also allow you to make sure that everyone's names are listed. I apologize, I have to cough. Pardon me. Everyone's names are listed. So you know how sometimes you get an email that says, hey Megan, open this email, right? You're more likely to open the email because it's personalized for you. So that can also be done through segments. Another fun idea that you can do with segments is you can also segment it for people's birthdays as well. So say you have a cupcake shop and you want to make sure that people are getting a free cupcake on their birthday, you can make sure that you send it through the segments that way. Additionally, special holidays, sending into special segments. So say it's National Cupcake Day, making sure that you're sending it to the correct people that you want to send it to. Because say you have some sort of data that says women of this age group like cupcakes more than men of this age group, so we're going to make sure that we send it to this segment instead of this segment. I know it's a little it's a little bit of a gray area, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying about how you can split everything up. And as far as the technical aspect of setting up the segments, this can be done through your provider, and they usually make it really easy to sort it out. So I know I threw a lot of information at you, so I'm going to pause just really quickly on audiences. Any questions, Diane?
Barbara? I'm sorry, this is Gary. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat what you said about an unvetted email? Because I'm not sure how to do that. I use MailChimp. Can I put an unvetted email in there and then somehow MailChimp will validate it? Or could you explain that again?
Yeah, of course. So what I think you're saying is, say you got like an email like from a customer and you put it in yourself. Like,
well, I have addresses that I have not gotten through my subscribe feature, MailChimp, and I've done a lot of these manually, reaching out to them saying, hey, please subscribe. I have others that I'd like to add, and I can administratively add them, but it asks you, do you have permission? And that's what I was trying. I thought earlier you said you could somehow get past that.
Yeah, if you say you have permission, it typically will send a secondary email to that person stating like, hey, are you cool with this?
Okay.
So yeah, I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
Okay, well, I have been, so I wanted to
Oh,
check.
okay.
Barb, there is another question that I think is important. What is a reputable resource to purchase email lists from, and how does the use of a list interact with spam laws? I guess two different questions.
Yeah, so like to begin this saying I am not a lawyer. I'm a marketing person. But one of the resources that we use, it's a place called Target OnStar. They're a really trusted vendor of ours. You can also buy them online from different vendors. Just make sure you do your research. If you have a question, please email me. I would hate for you to get in trouble, and especially if you're spending a lot of money on these things. But typically, the vendor that you're buying the email addresses for have already pre-vetted these people. So the responsibility of getting the permission from the list is going to be on the vendor that you purchased it from. So that's going to be a part of your fee, if that makes sense. I don't know, Diane walked away, so I'm not sure.
No, that was my question. I just wanted you to sort of point that out to folks. So that's helpful.
Okay. Awesome. We're doing good on time. So I also wanted to talk about email basics as far as metrics go. So you're like, okay, Barb, I got the audience down. I wrote my email. I sent it out. Super exciting. Now I have a bunch of these numbers and I have no idea what I'm looking at. That's totally fine. So first, we're going to talk about some basic terms. So let's talk about open rates. So open rates are really dependent upon what type of business you are. So I like to say anything over a 15%, or honestly anything over a 10% is a fantastic open rate. So in marketing, here I get excited over percentages of percentage points, right? So what's just really important to realize that if you get a 20% open rate, that is amazing. If anyone is getting 100% open rates out there, please take my job now, because I have never seen it happen. But yeah, anything over a 10% open rate is awesome. Obviously, that varies. So with the tourism industry, that's going to vary. With the healthcare industry, that's going to vary. So don't panic. If you're consistently getting things that are in the 15% to 20% area, you're doing fine. And if you're not getting those numbers, think about maybe just tweaking your tweaking your strategy a little. So maybe your subject lines aren't popping enough, or maybe you need to segment your audiences more so that way it makes more sense to them. Or maybe you're sending them too often, or maybe you're not sending them often enough for people to really be engaged with your marketing emails. Additionally, click-through rates are important. So fantastic, people open my email, but I need people to click to my website, or I need them to click to my product to make sure that we're doing something. So click-through rates, really important. These are going to vary depending on how many links you have on your email, but it's really important to take a look around, because if you notice that your whole email, so let's talk about the dinosaur place, for example. Your whole email is about their amazing splash pad, right? But then you notice that everyone is clicking on the small link at the bottom for a beautiful necklace that you posted there. And you're like, okay, so everyone is interested in the splash pad, but I'm noticing that a lot of people are also interested in our shop area of our store. So maybe the next e-blast that we should send should be more shop focused, whereas not so much about our park as a whole. Conversion rate. So that's why you guys are all here, right? You want conversion. So making sure that, I'm just going to stop myself right there. If you do not have a Google Analytics set up on your website, that is your homework right now. That's how we're going to figure this out. So conversion rate. So when you have your links in your e-blast, pro tip is to make sure that those are trackable links. This can be done by using something that's called a UTM code. Now, backtrack a little bit. You can also use like bit.ly codes, whatever works. Anything that's going to be able to give you the idea of how many people are clicking on that. I highly recommend using UTM codes. If you don't know what it is, quick Google search or a quick email to me. I'd be happy to explain it to you. But that's also going to allow you to see, be like, okay, this many people came from my email to my website, and then this many people who did that, the next thing they did was they made a purchase. And that's how we're going to make sure that your email marketing is successful. Without those little codes, you're kind of in the dark about things, right? So making sure that you do have those little links to show you what people are doing so you can measure your conversion. Bounce rate. So bounce rate, or people who are unsubscribing. I get emails all the time from my clients that are like, oh my God, 12 people unsubscribed from my list. What are we going to do? Or I have, a bounce rate of this many emails are, quote unquote fake or something. Don't panic. Look at the percentages before you look at the numbers. So for example, I had the Railroad Museum of New England. They have a list of about 40,000 names. And I got an email from one of the members, rightfully so, panicking. He said, the last email that we sent out, 111 people unsubscribed from our list, Barbara. I was like, it's okay. Let's look at the percentage points, right? So it's just a small amount of people. Don't freak out. Unless you're seeing percentages of over 5% of people unsubscribing from your list every time you send an email, then there's probably a problem. But don't freak out if it's under that. I promise you. If you have 40,000 people on your email list and 100 people decide to part ways with you, not the end of the world. It's just business. Bounce rate, if you're noticing that you have a high bounce rate, it might be an indication that your list needs to be a little bit refreshed. So what Diane was saying, if you notice that there's people who just aren't opening your list at all, it might be a time to kind of cull through your list. Don't lose sleep over it. But if you just notice that the bounce rates are just getting out of control, there might be something wrong with the list of itself. And it might be time to segment that list out so you can kind of figure out who's opening and who's not opening. List growth rate. So this can be a great thing or a not so great thing, right? So if you notice that your list grew 50% overnight and all the traction was from Russia, it's probably an issue. But if you're noticing that it's steadily growing, by 5+% every time you send out an email. Awesome. Pardon me. Jesus. I swear, this only happens when I start talking and presenting to people. I'll be fine all day. And then spam complaints. So you're always going to get the spam complaints. It's just people who are too lazy to unsubscribe, typically. Don't lose sleep over it unless you're getting something that's astronomical, like over 5% of people unsubscribing. So now we're going to talk about reading the metrics. So this is real life metrics from a real life email I sent the other day. So this email list had about 1,000 deliveries. Total opens over 6. So opened the email was 200. That clicked through the email was 28. That bounced was 3. I can live with that. And then unsubscribed was 3. I can also live with that. So just looking through it, we can look at the total opens. I think this shows the total opens of like the multiple emails that I sent for this campaign specifically. Unique open clicks, so 14%, which is awesome. Total clicks, 72. And then it also, this is something to look at when you were talking about best practices. You can also see when the last person opened it and when the first person opened it as well. Depending on what service you get, it's going to give you a variety of different graphs to look at. 0 forwards, 0 abuse reports, so I'm good with that. But as far as the forwards go, that could be really useful information, especially if you have like a really informational email that you sent out. So for example, I'm going back to my friends at Gen Health. They just launched a campaign for young kiddos about social distancing practices for COVID-19. So if you're noticing that you're like, wow, I got like a huge forwarded rate. So hopefully that tells us that a lot of school administrators are forwarding the information to their students and staff. And then moving down, I know we're running out of time, but one of the things I did want to just touch base on, because we're kind of giving this presentation at a really interesting time. So not only do we have a global pandemic happening, but we also have the holidays coming up. And that could be really tough for some people. So do not get discouraged. If everything that I tell you right now, you're like, Barbara, this is not working, please keep in mind that you have a pandemic that you're fighting against, and you also have the holidays. Things always decrease for marketing around the holidays because there is such a high volume of people. So if anything that you take from this presentation, make it your New Year's resolution, okay? I just don't want people to get discouraged because you will see your rates decrease starting mid-October. It's gonna happen. October to January 1st, I'm sure all of you are tossing things to your junk email. I mean, I am, right? So what I would recommend, always make sure, make this your New Year's resolution. Rates will decrease. But I also want to let you know, keep in mind that any holiday counts. So I know right now, I'm talking about, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, right? But every holiday counts, right? So if you have, it's National Dog Day, right? And it's really relevant to your business, make sure you use it. Send an email out for National Dog Day. Additionally, start as early as possible. I know I get a little annoyed, right? I'm sure as soon as Christmas is over, Easter candy is going to come out. They're going to totally skip Valentine's Day. But that follow suit. So as soon as you're seeing candy out for Halloween, which probably started in mid-August, that is when you need to start sending your stuff out for Halloween and holidays. Just started seeing Christmas pop up in a couple places. Mid-October, that's when you really want to start campaigning for those holiday purchases. Also, it's okay to theme your campaigns. So you can have multiple campaigns running, right? So you can have your holiday campaign, and then you can have your general business campaign as well. And also use urgency. People are going to be panicking, right, for the holidays to buy gifts and everything. So make sure it's okay to jump on that wagon to create that urgency for that. So those are just some basic tips. I just wanted to navigate the holidays just really quickly for you guys before we wrapped up, to make sure that no one's getting discouraged, because it is going to be tough for the next 2.5 months. So before I wrap up, is there any other questions?
Yes, there are. Here is from Bill. I'll read the whole thing first. If they click on an opening, if they click on an email, it does not mean they read it. Correct. I'm thinking of first including a video and a link, so they may take more time seeing what you are saying and the link to click. That way you know that they're not only opening but reading. Do you have any comments about that, or how to rephrase that?
No, I mean, that's a really good strategy. I always like to put my animated stuff towards the top of the email. Just be wary to make sure that you're linking it to like an outside source. So don't like upload the whole video to the email, because it's not going to load as quickly. And if people have to wait more than a second for it, they're going to click off of it. So if you're going to do a video, upload it to like YouTube or something first, and then embed that link into the marketing email. So that way it's a quicker upload for people. But no, that's a really great strategy.
Okay. And the last question we have here is, do bounces and unsubscribes automatically come off your database, or do you have to go back in and remove them manually?
They automatically remove, at least for the providers that I've used. I haven't heard of any provider that doesn't do that.
Okay, that seems to be it. If there's anybody else who has any questions that would like to unmute themselves or show themselves, we welcome that since we have such a small group.
Show yourselves.
Just to weigh in on the automatic removal thing, the system that you're using for email does do it, but just for our system, an example, we have a CRM and Constant Contact. So if they've unsubscribed from Constant Contact, it will catch them. But if we send an email, for example, straight from our database, it will not. So that's just something we have to be aware of.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what provider. And as I said in the beginning, please do your research, make sure, everything works, and take advantage of that deal from the chamber, because I didn't know that existed.
It's new, so don't feel bad. But yeah,
okay.
please do that. We launched that maybe a month ago.
Awesome.
I want to thank you for some great, information. I obviously asked a lot of questions, and the main thing is I have a large database and have a relatively good open rate. But to be honest with you, those people that don't open it, I just soon get rid of them. But like you say, keep sending it. But thank you. It's been a very useful 1 hour. And thanks, Megan, for putting these together. I've got to sign out. I got another Zoom to get to.
Well, thank you for attending. It was really great having you. Great. Well, we'll be sending out the presentation soon. Hopefully Megan will get that all to you. And then Megan, feel free to include my email contact if anyone has any other questions that I can assist with.
Absolutely, I will do that.
Great.
All right, excellent. If there are no other questions, again, we'll send out Barb's email. This was recorded and broadcast on Facebook, so if you need it immediately, you can watch it on Facebook. Otherwise, we will send you a YouTube link so you can bookmark and watch it later. But just want to thank everyone for attending, and a special thank you to Miranda Creative, who has not done this presentation before. It was unique to the chamber, so we so appreciate the time that they take to share their insights. And even as someone who's done email marketing for a long time, a lot of this is just so helpful to have as a refresher and a reminder and new information. So I found it very valuable, and I want to thank you for making it so easy to understand.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a great day. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Barbara.
Bye.